Hello everyone and welcome to the MetaRuner Q&A. I'm Acanuro and I thank all of you who have been loving and enjoying the series so far. We got some great questions that I didn't think would be so expressive in how they connect to the many jokes and references that I made in these videos. We're not going to waste any time with the build up because let's be real, this is a Q&A. But I do want to say before we begin, I never thought the questions I got would be more than enough when I only predicted I'd gather up a few. This surprised me ever more, and with the amount of questions asked, I'm going to answer them in order of first to last commented. So let's get into it. Do you think Lux is a good antagonist? What kind of a question is that, because I think Lux is a great antagonist. Of course his death was the thing that made me sympathize for him as a character, and looking back on what made him good was not only him feeling his emotions to get what he wanted, but also the man who made Lux so expressive. The man behind the voice, Mr. David J.G. Doyle. This doesn't really feel like a side note, I just want to appreciate David. I've seen a really well done interview by the channel Galactic Gaming, who led me to his channel by commenting on one of my animatics. I never expected him to have such good videos, as he's interviewed a good sum of the cast, but his video with David is easily the best one. David is a very nice guy. He even commented on my animatic, Lux's ass cheeks. That's weird to say, but yeah, I made his day, so... But when watching this interview, I just became fascinated with the man. He has such interesting choices of games and movies, which I was really interested about. I even feel like watching the movie recommendations he gives in the interview. Overall, I just think David's the most interesting of the cast because of just how much more rawness he puts into the voice of Lux. His performance has been the highlight of season 1 and 2 for me, and I'm so satisfied to say that. What did Tari think when she saw Cursed Theo? Cursed Theo question. The thing I wanted to give context to for the people who wanted more. So for Theo's character in MetaRuner, I'd like to explain why he has those small moments with that cursed look. So do you all remember the whole Wario apparition? I made a Chills parody on it, one of the big heavy hitters for my channel. So a thing associated with it is the quote, every copy of Mario 64 is personalized. And likewise in MetaRuner, every copy of Ultra Jump Mania is personalized. So where am I going with this? Well, it starts in Ultra Jump Maniac, where Theo, unable to defeat the Crab King, ends up unleashing a never before seen power where he sends the Crab King to a dark void where he is now unable to move. Theo slowly devours the Crab King, but when his work is finished, Tori and our main Theo are thought to be witnesses, which makes him going to send them to their doom, thus ending that video. But that was the cartridge they warped into, so what about the Theo we know and love? Well, like I said, every copy of Ultra Jump Mania is personalized, so this doesn't just mean each Theo is different, it also means each Theo could have their own powers. And this is shown in our Theo, in Season 2 Episode 1, where he imagines unleashing his full destructive power all over Task Corp, sparing Tari in the process. Besides this, the look of Theo with wide eyes isn't just a joke with a value, it's seen by everybody present when he's on a screen display, including Bell in Episode 4. So this does mean Tari is aware of Theo's abilities, but so far he hasn't been able to use his powers outside of his game. What's the thought process in making the jokes for the episodes? Now this is a very good question. You see folks, throughout MetaRuner's editing, I found myself often stumped when parodying the episodes. Running through the episodes is different for me. After watching a single episode the first time, I then download it as an MP4, and then start using it in my video editing app. Now for starting the making of a MetaRuner episode, my thought process goes to what kinds of jokes I can think of after putting it into the editing app. And a good amount of these jokes are made just because I remind myself of certain things I've watched that most definitely fit the scenes in the episode. So if you notice in the episodes, I add in a lot, and I mean a lot of different quotes to the characters. This is seen most earliest in episode 3 of season 1, where Tari is arguing with Lux when she gets out of Ultra Jump Mania. In that episode, I used a quote from this old Freak Out video I saw, screen recorded it, then turned it into audio in the video editing app. This is how it goes for most quotes I hear in the episodes. So some old memes and such will often come back to my head, and I kind of recite them when watching these scenes in an episode, then think, oh man, I should totally add that in. Usually, like I said, my stuff is mainly screen recorded. You can imagine because of the amount of jokes I add to my episodes, I actually have a ton of screen recordings. And I really do sometimes. Now imagine doing all this on a phone, trying to reserve storage space, while also soon exporting a completed video that has to have enough space to stay on your phone until you upload it. That's dedication, and also how I used to do videos up until this point. And I couldn't be happier doing what I love with these videos. How do you make the Yu-Gi-Oh! Style intro for Season 2? Man, you're about to give me PTSD right now, because working on that specific intro for episode 10 was really something else. So guys, I'm sure this ain't really hard to believe, but I really wanted Season 2 to go out with a bang. I'm sorry, I just had to. But really, I wanted it to look flashy, stylish, and most of all, have a beautifully well-made intro. Something I've never done before. Yu-Gi-Oh's theme was a good pick for this, as it was for many people nostalgic, catchy, and most importantly to me, copyright free. I guess you could say this took inspiration from some forms of things I've watched, as a good few Nintendo meme compilations start with their own intros. In more ways than one, the similarities came back to me as I wouldn't expect. But my main inspiration was the channel Kirby GCN17, who's a frequent Nintendo NY visitor and is most known for recording every live Nintendo Direct reaction by numerous fans there. Why am I saying all this? Because the man made a freaking amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Intro to start off his videos a while back. He did this with the faces of Nintendo, and it was so well done. I even took a good look back at it while I thought on this idea. Before I really got to work, I had to think of the scenes I wanted to use, which became the kind you see in the intro. My main focus is how I would soon stitch them together based on which scenes I took and make them all flow very well. So I chose scenes that would make some good visuals. And for the intro to be really well placed, I had to make sure the music was instrumental. A quick and simple search led me to a good high quality Yu-Gi-Oh! Theme with no vocals. The only thing it included was faint sound effects, but my intro didn't have to be perfect. In terms of the scenes, I started with the one of Bell revisiting Shuriden's destroyed lab, as it gave a sense of nostalgia and eeriness, while also showing the Project Blue symbol that looked awesome for the effect. With the scenes of different visuals, I knew using just Season 2 ones might repeat the same or similar episode footage, given everything is more linear in that season, so using Season 1 content helped make it look nice. For the It's Time to Duel scene, this was the main thing that got me pumped to make the intro what it was. Using a good Tari quote and it transitioning to her warping to different games was a great way to finish off the intro. And believe me, after thinking about all of Tari's quotes he used for this, her SMG4 ones I thought would fit the best. Because of how much shorter they were, and also well delivered in a different tone by the amazing Celeste, the quote of Game On definitely fit the best. Also, that use of repeating the flames was a little hard to edit in a way that made it flow with the quote, but in the end, it worked out pretty well. Lastly, for the two main quotes, Crackerjack and Project Blue, I wanted some good, simple words to fit the slots of the vocals you hear in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Theme. Deals was a good one to use for when the heavy music kicked in, but for Bells, I had a screen recorder quote in YouTube's playback speed options slowed down to help fit the speed of the music. I then added some reverb after and inserted the audio into editing. With those two applied, the music was finished first, but the visuals were then needed to make the intro whole. Okay, for the last comment I received, we really got a handful of questions that make for a good conclusion, so I'm gonna have fun going through these. Who's your favorite Metaluna character? Tari, of course. When I labeled her as best girl in Season 2's sitcom intro, I wasn't lying. She's real cute and wholesome, and her relationship with Dio in Season 2 becomes almost motherly in a way. I love it. I just love how kind she can be. Even when she's asking Masa to put the gun down and is being pointed at Lux, she's too good to deny. Tari was built up as such a lovable but also strong protagonist, so she truly deserves the pick for favorite character. Who is your favorite character to write jokes for in Metaluna? Now I'm glad I got such an interesting set of questions, especially specifically about Metaluna itself, but since in my own right this applies to both seasons, and the jokes I made in them, I gotta say Lux. Masa is a close second because in Season 2 I fleshed him the hell out, gave him a love for Big Macs, made him show his ass off, but with Lux, I wholeheartedly made good jokes about him in Season 1 that greatly increased in Season 2. Everything I did with Lux just seemed so funny to fit with his character. Using jokes to fit with his anger, sentence mixing his words to make certain conversations more awkward, and even making him secretly lust for Tari. They were all great ways to make the parody series have its own unique style to Lux and just how he was represented. Favorite Metaluna episode? I'd have to say my favorite Metaluna episode, or rather video, is Tari and the Sandwich Debate, the Food Fight YTP. Funny thing about this one, I never really knew what I wanted to name it, but the one I chose still seemed okay to me enough to put it up. But even when I titled it as a Metaluna video, none of the people that have their own playlists of Metaluna don't even bother to add it as such. But to go over what this is my favorite, I have to think about the time and placement I made this YTP in. This was after Season 1, so when I started making entries for Olympia 94's soon-to-be collab video. When this was made, I had a personal turning point in the humor added to my videos that just kinda jumped in ideas. For this video, it was a good time that I got big brain, and my mind just expanded with things to include in this video. This was the first instance of me using Graham McDonald in my jokes, and also the only video so far to use a custom outro in the YTP. I'm sorry if I never use this one again. I just thought ending on another video like this really wouldn't work out the way this one did. Even when I got so much positive reception on how much more the jokes evolved and changed in the video at the time, I still come back to rewatch it just because of how good my jokes changed in the time period for this video to become such a hit. And yes, I do rewatch my videos and enjoy them all the same. Explain how you did the Sephiroth bait in episode 9. Hey, but that kind of wording that isn't a question, man. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'd be happy to answer this one. For this scene, the Sephiroth footage was of course from the Game Awards reveal, and all I had to do was screen record it. For Lux's reaction though, which I'm assuming was the main reason this is asked about, I made it out of the great quotes of once again, David J.D. Doyle. You see, David has an Instagram if you didn't know, Aussie Roth, happy to mention it, and in some of his videos, he can accidentally sound like Lux without even trying. Because of his Australian accent being the only dividing factor, you could say you might see a lot of his videos as just Australian Derek Lux speaking. But because of what I said, I saw these posts as a good way to add a few new jokes to Lux's character, so I grabbed a quote from a post of him on the beach,
holy hell!
And a quote from a post of him actually reacting to Sephiroth's reveal.
Sephiroth is in Smash.
I used both of these over some screenshots of the episode, and then used one of them in FaceApp. And if you're wondering, FaceApp is the thing I've used to make all the great smiling images you've seen throughout the episodes, which is also the way it is thumbnail for this and the Q&A announcement video. And now we're at the last and final question. Opinion on Moss's Big Mac? That's a pretty good final question. Okay, I'll give a few words and then my thoughts. Moss's Big Macs are treated with care. He cherishes every Big Mac he consumes. They're his own personal reward, and he treats himself to them every time he gets a shot at victory or preparing for a challenge. So what did I think of his Big Mac? I think it's a beautiful and loving relationship. The greatest story ever told in fiction. Take the SpongeBob episode of him in love with the Krabby Patty and replace it with Moss and a Big Mac. The ratings would soar. Well, there you have it everyone. The Q&A from MetaRuner as it stands so far. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below on how I answered the questions given, and what you liked about them. If you want to ask a few more things, maybe I can reply to you. Thank you to all who commented on the Q&A announcement video and all who enjoyed this one, with the journey we've shared and the things that made you all laugh. Until next time, this is Acanuro, and I'll see you guys.